for the last year and a half, maybe even 2 years, we have been in the development division. When I started here, I heard about the different scholarships that the college had and the process that we usually follow in order to have students apply for scholarships. As we continue to talk, we try to find a solution where the students had a easier access to the scholarships, and at the same time, the people that were reviewing and were going through the scholarships had an easier time also reviewing the scholarships, and that everyone could in one place find everything that was available in the college. What's happened since then, we've had meetings with Sandy Figueroa, with Joe Alicea, with Ken Aqua, and with key people within the entire college that have some type of responsibility for scholarships. As a result of that,
Have to put on, because they can't see your face.
as a result of that, it's okay. We actually, after very thorough review from my office, Diane Vargas was here, actually helped me a lot in this project. She started it with me. When we started looking into it, we looked at different vendors. IT got involved. They looked at vendors. We had presentations where Joe Alicea, Ken Aqua, Sandy, and a couple of the other people that were part of the community had presentations of different vendors, and we finally selected Academic Work. You will see on the top. Right now, this resides under ostosacademicworks.com. This will be linked once we're ready. This will be linked to our website. This is not live at this point. I can access it, so it's live, but it's not live, meaning that it has not been obviously promoted. We're not there yet. The first step for me is to ensure that all of our scholarships are included in this system. And what I'm gonna do today, and Sandy, how much time do we have?
1:30, 1:02.
Okay, yeah, so we'll take less than that because I wanna allow time for questions, and there will plenty, and I have questions for you. It's 2:40, so I'll just take the next 15 minutes to kind of briefly go through the process so you can see how this works. The idea here is that when people get to this, there will be a homepage to scholarships, so where people will be explained about the scholarship systems in Arostos, and then people will go in to sign in. You can see in the top there's a tab that says applicants and administrators, references and reviewers. Obviously, applicant is a student, and administrator would be me in this case. So you sign in with your Ostos login name, and that's pretty much what the instructions say. And at this point, because I'm an administrator, I can actually see here that I have different roles. I have the role of an administrator, but I can see how an applicant would see this. Now, when a student goes in, what we did, and again, this was done after a very thorough look into every single application that we could find in the college, we created what we call a general application. The idea is that every student signs into the system and fills out this general application. I filled out the application just to test it out, so obviously in this case it says it's complete. What we've done with IT is that a lot of the information from the students, it's gonna be pre-populated because the system is connected to KinneyFirst. So the first name, the last name, some of that information will be already in the system, and they will just have to fill out some additional information that might not be in the system. And we've added in here some optional things that people can fill out that will help us, like the honors and distinctions if they received anything, community service. All that is optional because it's not required for some of the scholarships, obviously, that we have. Extracurricular activities, work experience, and then we request from everyone. Yes?
I just had a question on the bio information, that first page that you had. Are you included the Ample ID now to link it to KinneyFirst or not?
People sign in. I don't think the ID is gonna show up here, but it's connected to it because pretty much when they sign in with their Ostos information, and the system is pretty much connected to KinneyFirst. So even though it doesn't show, for them when they go into the application, I know that we can get that information. So if we go to the bottom, we're asking everyone to provide a letter of recommendation. This was decided when people do not need, the students do not need to get the letter of recommendation to fill out the application, but we are asking them to go ahead and submit a request of recommendation letter. Why? Because there are some scholarships that do require the letter of recommendation, and we thought it was good practice. So that was what was decided as part of the committee. But again, the system in many of the scholarships that we have in this booklet, that's not required. So the process will not stop because you haven't received the letters of recommendations unless you want to stop it. So anyway, you go ahead, you electronically sign pretty much with your name, and that's your application has been submitted. When you submit your application, what's going to happen is we have set up some applications, what is called auto match. So if it's a scholarship that is specifically for dental hygiene students with GPAs of 3.5 or more, that information is in the system. So it's automatically gonna show that that is a scholarship that you can apply for if you're so interested. And so it's gonna automatically match you to the opportunities that we have in the college. At the same time, if you want, you can look at all of the scholarships available. And in my case, at the time, I decided to go and apply for the Circle of 100 as an example. You see? When I click on the Circle of 100 because I want to apply for it, the Circle of 100 application requires that I answer this question. If you will be transferring to a senior college, please upload a copy of your acceptance letter. In this case, we noted that obviously, hi, how are you? We noted that this question is actually only for certain students within the Circle of 100 application, so that's something we're going to have to change because it's not required of every single student that applies for that one. And that's pretty much in a very, very, very general way how the process for students works. And the system is set up in such a way where students will get notices from us electronically if they've been awarded the scholarship. The system will also remind, like automatically when students apply, we're setting up the system so that the reviewers of those applications are notified, okay, you need to go into the system and review the applications. Here, the opportunities, you see? These are all of the opportunities that we have in the system, which you saw earlier. And these are all of the recommended opportunities for Ana Carrion. Based on what I entered, these are my recommended opportunities. And we have some notes in here explaining to people what auto match of scholarships means. If you want to apply for more scholarships, what to do, etc. This part is for purposes of the institutional advancement. We've only included so far Barnes & Noble. The idea is that everyone who is a donor, a bigger donor, would be included in here if there are bigger scholarships. And references, in my case, these are the two references that I requested. I requested a reference from me and from my husband, so. So that's pretty much for, what?
I hope he gives you a good one.
I don't know about that.
So then, if we go to administrator, this is where the fun part is. Okay, so again, here is where we have work to do and where I will need your assistance. Because I'm going to show you the back side of the system so you can see how this is set up. Claudia and I, at this point, are responsible for going into the system, filling out the description of the opportunity, telling the system when this opportunity is available, when should it be closed out, how many scholarships are available under that opportunity, how much money I have available under that opportunity, visibly for people to see if we want to include how much is the scholarship for, we can include it in here. We tell the system auto match, or if people have to apply for it, there's no auto match with it. And if we wanna put a post-acceptance questionnaire for any reason. Now, that's pretty simple, all of that information we've gone through. Now, this is the tricky part, qualifications. Here is where the system, actually, I make it work. So, let's say an ASAP Persistent Award is actually a really good and a really bad example. It's a really bad example because of the qualifications. For me, it's impossible to include them at this point. It's a really good example because it shows us how it is that we have to create qualifiers for every opportunity if we want the system to work. There might be some opportunities that we decide, you know what, the system won't help us in the sense of filtering people out of the system for me to look at. Here, this award goes to students who demonstrated a great deal of persistence while also facing extraordinary non-academic responsibilities. Okay?
And that's students in ASAP.
And that's students in ASAP.
Okay.
So if I go here, these are my qualifiers. And not the first ones, don't worry. But I can tell the system, I want students with this GPA. I can tell the system, I want students from this major. I can tell the system, I want students that are single. I can tell the systems, I'm a student that, it's an international student. I can tell it's people with children. I can tell the system, let's see what else. Any of these things that obviously do not relate to any of the other part. And you see the student ID was up there. I can tell the system it has to be for specific ethnicities, completed credit hours, that have a current specific amount of credit hours, and that have a certain unmet need, let's say. So, all of that I can do through the system. But when it's a very general criteria that I have to go with, like, excellence, academic excellence. If I don't define what academic excellence means, you won't be able, as the reviewer, won't be able to really find a pool of students. You'll have to go through all of the students, even if it's within your class. We're adding to these qualifiers courses. I'm working with IT so that they include courses so that I could say, for example, and the reason we're doing that is because after meeting with Sandy and going through all of the opportunities, we noticed, for example, I believe it's in this one, that the qualifier here is the Behavioral Science Unit 12 Scholarship is presented to the student with a GPA of 3.5 or above in sociology, psychology, or social work. So right now I can't do that because I only have majors. But I'm gonna include the courses so I can tell the system, I can go to qualifiers and I can tell the system, okay, my friend, I want here a GPA higher than 3.5 in these three courses, in one of these three courses, and I can do that without a problem. Now I'm going to show you a good example. So you can see an example that we've actually put together that has all the qualifiers in it. I think it was it Elias Carmen? Oh yeah, we've got it so many. Let's see. I think it was Mildred Herndon was one of that was a good one. That's what it was.
It's science, right? Mildred.
Here we go. Did you? Yeah, scholarship, yeah. Okay, so in Mildred Herndon, but here, even here, we had an issue. But in Mildred Herndon, the details say that we want a person that a graduating student who has completed at least 16 credits and achieved a grade point average of 3.7 or higher in biology, as well as an overall GPA of 3.5. Okay, so when I go to qualifications, so far I'll be able to tell the system, okay, it has a completed credit hours greater or equal to 16 hours, a cumulative GPA of 3.5, the expected graduation date is this date. However, I have not been able to tell the system that I needed to be a GPA of 3.7 or more specifically in biology. That part, the system, I'm having problems setting up the system that way. However, what's the solution for right now? In some of these cases, I discussed this with the people at Academic Works, and they said, listen, In some universities, what they've done is, for some qualifiers, you can ask the student the additional questions. It will say, do you have a GPA higher than 3.7? Most students won't know this, but that being said, you can hope that most of the students would have an idea. The ones that have 3.0 or less will definitely not even bother because they know that, they're not even gonna bother qualifying. But at least while you have to go back and double check all of the information you're saying, per se, you're filtering a little bit of the students that you know for a fact will be able to match to these opportunities. I know, and I want everyone to understand, we're still working. I'm here today, and I still have 3 more months of work to do in this. I'm bringing you in really early because I really want us to go over every single opportunity and see how to best match the system. One person that I've been working with a lot on this is with Circle of 100. Circle of 100 has a magnificent application process. They have a set of reviewers and they have very specific qualifiers. In their case, the system, hopefully, right, is going to work beautifully because we're going to be able to match a lot of people. And what's going to happen in our office, we get a lot of people walking in to say, listen, I need a scholarship for X, Y, or Z, or I need money, I have this emergency. So the idea is that we will tell people, go in, fill out the application, and they will not only see the Circle of 100, which is what happens now. The Circle of 100 has done the best job at marketing themselves. So they will see, wow, I can get a scholarship from the Circle of 100, but wow, there are all these other opportunities that I didn't even know existed. Or I'm a dental hygiene student, and hopefully I've heard that if I get a certain GPA, I can get a gold award at the end of the year and some money, but you will reinforce it by doing it this way. From the side of the reviewer, the idea here is that this will make, at the beginning, it will be a process that it will take some time to get used to, but at the same time, it will be a process that will make it a lot easier to find a lot more students. Because right now, what happens is that we have a pool of students that we usually have to go to, at least in the scholarships that are not specifically for courses, like some of the ones that you have. So that's pretty much from that end. Over here, you'll see evaluator. So far, my evaluator is Joe Alicea. I included him in there. And pretty much, when you go in and you sign in as an evaluator, you will receive an email saying you're an evaluator, and it will pretty much, see, you only see him right now. The people that are gonna evaluate the system are gonna get training from Academic Works to explain to them exactly how to go through the process and review all the applications that are in the system. Right now, let me see if I can here.
There's a question here.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Where the qualifier is specific, like 3.7 in sociology or biology, or a cumulative GPA of 3.5 or better, if you don't meet it, you don't meet it. But when you have something like extraordinary financial need, non-academic financial need.
Right now, what we have in the system, and this is partly why Joe Alicea is here, our office works very closely with Joe Alicea, and pretty much they do a whole assessment from the students. The financial side of the house went to CUNY first already, so technically we're going to be able to connect our system with his system, and that's why there is a field in there that's called unmet need, and it's called financial need, something like that. Why do I have Joe in here? Because the idea is that if a student applies because they have a high financial need, Joe is going to be reviewing that application. And it's going to be able to say, indeed, their unmet need is X, Y, or Z. Every single application, the way it's supposed to be done, and Joe, correct me if I'm saying it incorrectly, but the way this is supposed to work, that every single student that receives money from the college has to go through a financial review. We're not supposed to give 1 cent to anyone that has not gone through a financial review. So every student that receives money at the end during your honors convocation, we've gone through that process. And we've been working for 2 years now with Ken Aqua and with Joe Alicea to make sure that all of the students that we have, where we're giving them money, we make the process better. And that's why Sandy, I know, has been going through the whole process of asking people to submit names earlier and earlier and earlier. It's because they need the names in order for us to be able to review them and say, in fact, yes, the student has that financial need. Yes.
Yeah, and what was very important in that analysis was the fact that we were finding situations where we were, as a college, giving money to students before that fiscal analysis, and then how do you backtrack? You already gave the student some kind of notification that they're going to get X, Y, Z, and all of a sudden, when I get that information after the fact, then we have to pull it out. We don't want to be in that situation, so that's why right now you see me as the only one, but the first one, because again, the financial, and it is, believe me when I say, for most of our students, 99%, 96% of them, it's not going to be a real problem for them. They get other aid programs, as you know, but they don't get a total to their maximum EFC, which is the expected family contribution. I don't have to get into details there, but our needy students get what they need, at least they have the eligibility for it. So that hasn't been a real problem. The problem has been in the timing for that.
And I think what's really important for everyone to understand is why working with my office, we went through an evaluation of our systems, the systems we had in place at the Office of Institutional Advancement. One key aspect of our office is to let donors know where their money is going. If I give $20, there's a lot of people out there that just give the money and they don't really, they just do it and they don't care. But corporations like Barnes & Noble, corporations like Chase, like Citibank, they want to know where their money went. So we have now, it took Diane Vargas 2 years to be able to put together 6 reports for donors to let them know which students receive certain scholarships. And in the case of Barnes & Noble, it is so complicated because there has been so many different, elements into play. It's hard to go back to Barnes & Noble and say, hey, Barnes & Noble, give me $50,000 additional for my students when I cannot show you where did your previous $50,000 went to. So, that I want to continue to be able to be successful in requesting the money. And again, it's really easy to do with certain scholarships, but not so easy to do with others. And the idea is that with the system, at least it will be we will be acknowledging our donors. We will be able to provide them reports in a fashion that's a lot easier for us and more accurate for them. And that it's transparent and everyone can see. And again, there are many applications where the students don't know everything that's available out there right now. And we hope that once this is perfect and we have all of the applications in place and everything's ready, then we'll be able to do a communications campaign. Yes?
Yes, I do have a question. I know that some of the award, even though it seems so simple, some students are not qualified because they are foreign student. Okay, is there any way, since we have a system and the students are getting a letter or an email, can you warn them? Because it's really sad. Everybody thinks that this is only academic excellence, and they go for it.
Yes.
And suddenly they come out of the sleep, you can't because you're a foreign student. And I would rather have them in the front so they know
Yes.
that they're not going to get it, so they don't put their hopes so high.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. We are looking into, just so that you know, I am working really hard to see how we can address the foreign students and actually create some mechanism where we can actually provide aid via obviously we cannot give aid to them with money that is, the college money. But
Federal, state.
Yeah, federal, but from private sources, we might be able to do that, and I've been looking for that. I've had quite a few people talk to me about that, but yes, yeah, that's a really good point, so we should definitely, so it's actually make a point to do that. Yes,
Just in terms of the integration of the financial piece,
Mhm.
Joe's sitting right there.
Careful what you say.
Yeah. And students receiving monetary awards.
Mhm.
We were informed though a while back that the consequence of being a recipient of monetary awards might affect their financial aid. I think I have that right.
Right, that's what he was
Yes.
talking about
Yes.
before.
So it sounded to us, and I'm just throwing it out, those
Yes.
of us who really don't have much knowledge in that area, as if it was almost as if students were punished for gaining this award, and that it was taken away in some way, in another area. So,
Well,
I'm
Joe-
sorry, Joe, I had to go there,
That's not a
but.
problem. Let's see, I can stay here and talk for a long time, but there are different types of awarding we could do. Need-based is what we do in the aid office, but, both federal and state aid. There's a formula to that. And then there's, of course, the merit-based aid. Because we give out need-based aid, federal need aid funds, what happens is we're obligated to look at all aid, regardless of the source. Now, that's really the only concern that the financial aid office has, that we don't get in a situation where we're giving what we call over-packaging. The packaging for federal and state aid, like I said before, is a set formula. CUNY does not package nowhere near at the level of what a student is needy of. We have students with needs of $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, $15,000, and their aid package may be $2,000. That difference is what all I'm looking at. And as long as there's that difference has not been passed, then there's really no, from our perspective, we pass it on, go forward.
And I think
Yes.
the other side of that coin, which is benefits to the students, because we discussed this at length, and what, if we are able to identify our students, for example, for these awards, let's say, and Sandy, you can tell me, that student received $500 because they get the highest, they get whatever, the dental hygiene. The earliest we're able to, and I know it's hard if they have to get a certain GPA by the end of the year, it's impossible. So, excluding those. But for the students that we can't identify earlier, these students might be able to say, I don't have to do work study because I'm getting DH somewhere else. Because if they're, right?
All loans.
Huh?
All
Or
loans, a
or
great
loans,
target.
because they're able to pretty much, they know already they're going to be getting an award, and therefore, if they do work study, they will be over packaged. So pretty much, I'm gonna have to be working, not spending time studying, and I could have not worked and basically get DA to be able to spend more time in my studies. Some students might prefer to do the work study. It's experience, it's great. I love work study. I did it the 4 years that I was at college, so I'm all for it. I'm not saying, but there are some students that might have 3 kids, that have 3 jobs, and they just cannot do it, so.
I'd like to clarify, I know, Jose, that you want to ask a question, but I'd like to clarify that with the department awards at honors convocation, these are students who are graduating. So the $500 that they're getting, or the $200, or the $1.50 that they get, is not affecting their financial aid package because they're leaving Hostos. That financial aid package ends,
Depends
just
what
about-
age year we're looking at.
Yeah, exactly, but and that's that's the reason why we always had to submit this information, as you pointed out, to Ken and Joe, and I needed that information from the departments fast so that they can make that. Pretty much, very rarely were any students denied, the $500 or the $1.50.
I just want to elaborate on Anna's point, because she makes a good point. If we get that information in a timely manner, financial aid, what that does is allow us the ability to work with that student and make that negotiation, because the first thing I want to tell a student is, why take loans, which is a number one headache, if I could give you this scholarship? And if I can make that swap with them with their cooperation, they do it. Work study is another one, but it doesn't mean eliminating the work study program, because most awards are about $1,800, $2,000, let's say, but they may be over by a couple of $100 in the needs analysis. So we reduce the award from, let's say, $2,000 to $1,700. You could work and get the scholarship. So that's what we have to do. Unfortunately, that we contract by law to do it that way. We're supposed to.
Joe,
Yes.
this only applies to students who receive financial aid, right?
Right.
Students that do not receive, even though we don't know if they need it or not need it, they wouldn't have a problem?
It would seem that way. Unfortunately, as it's stated in regulations, the fact that we provide federal dollars in the tune of about 20-something million dollars,
Yeah.
we have to look at all aid. Now, a student that does not receive aid, it's not an issue. We push it through right away. So a foreign student, let's say, if we had foreign student awards,
They would have a problem.
they don't have the
Yeah.
TAP and Pell like everybody
But
else
they're
or
foreign
anything
students
else.
anyway.
We push them right through. It's the only thing that we're looking at now this is why I want to be clear on this, especially for the academic people that I talk to. We're not in the business of taking money away from students. That we want to give them those monies that you've made those decisions on based on their academic performance. We all benefit from that. And that's what we want to do. But we are obligated to look at their needs package, their federal needs analysis. If they are not eligible for federal aid or state aid, well, that means they have an EFC or whatever it is, financial aid of 0. Therefore, whatever we give them is okay.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the only concern that I have, and the only interaction I'll have with the system. I don't care how you pick them. I have no need to look at who you pick, why you pick them. I look at one thing only, just that. And financial aid is apolitical. It's not based on any other criteria except need. So that's what we have to be concerned with. And we're protecting the college of the 23 million Pell dollars we get.
Yeah.
We're protecting the college of the 12 million TAP dollars we get, because we are in compliance when we do it this way. And that's my job.
Yeah, but what I see as the challenge is the very natural nature of how students proceed. Usually when you go for something, and we've seen a lot of students, they're not front loaded. You know, usually all of a sudden they may hear about a scholarship, or someone may encourage someone to apply. And I like what Joe is saying. We can work with you. We could look at how that packaging could be realigned.
Exactly.
But that implies really reflection and preparation and front-loading things. And I love the system in terms of getting it there and giving people the opportunities. But there really is a challenge here about the way in which students generally deal with scholarships. I know with honors, we've really had a problem where we keep telling them about these scholarships, jacket, the deadlines, whatever, and then the students may even do one part of the process and then for whatever reason drop out.
That's, I have to interject, only for this reason, because you're relatively new to the college. This has been our history. This is a new day and age. And what's good about having institutional advancement is reminding students that they have a response. This system reminds the students that if you want to get even a departmental award, you have to apply. And all you have to do is fill out the questionnaire. And the students have to do this because we won't have access to that information. Gone will be those days when department chairs and unit coordinators ask Infotech for the list, because they can do this themselves. And this expedites the situation so that Joe Alisea can meet with the student, have this dialogue and all of that. But we have to get the students.
I think, Cynthia, you make a really good point, and I completely understand where you're coming from. This is not going to be easy by any means. I'm very aware of it, because we're asking our faculty, our students, our staff to completely switch a little bit on how we're doing the scholarship process. And honestly, it might be that it doesn't work. I don't know, okay? I cannot tell you this is the solution to everything. This is the best we could come up with in order to try to help everyone.
Right.
Now, that being said, the idea.
Just a second.
Yes.
Anna described another reason why this, how important this is, because she has to go out there. She's going out there shaking that money tree.
Right.
When she does that, she now will have the tools and demonstrate the success of a donor's how their money was used for student success. And that's a powerful, powerful
Yes, it is.
recruiting tool
Yeah.
for fun.
No, definitely, and I think for the students, I mean, again, I've already alerted our communication side that, I've already talked to all of the VPs. I'm actually going to be making this similar presentation at the Senior Leadership Management Council, just to try to see, once we're ready to go out again, once we feel this is in the best shape that we can get it to before we go live, that we communicate, and try. Some students are going to be, yeah, whatever, I'm not feeling on this, I know that's the case. But again, I hope that we can try, see where it is. And I think, like he said, I mean, we're asking them, you're going to be receiving money at the end of the day. So, yes, I know a lot of our students are used to, coming, the ones that know, because that's also my worry. Honestly, there's a lot of students that don't know what's out there. And two, I think that if I tell them, go to the system, while they thought there was one opportunity, oh my God, all of a sudden there are like 20 others that I didn't know about. The beautiful thing about this system, and that's something Claudia and I have not done yet, but the beautiful thing and what I'm hoping that it's going to turn into, we can include in here external scholarships where no one has to do absolutely anything. It's pretty much a link outside, but in one place, we're going to be able to show students, this is everything you have at Hostos. Besides what you have at Hostos, this is the world of opportunities out there of other scholarships that you might be able to get through external sources, which right now, people call our office all the time, and we don't have a scholarship coordinator. That's why it's taking so long. I mean, Diana and I actually, with a little time between GALA and between golf and between this and between that, we try to get, we work here and there in order to get here. We don't have a scholarship coordinator in the college, which is a little bit of the challenge because that's why it's kind of done. But we're hoping that this is really going to help. And again, the scholarship coordinator is hopefully something that's going to be in the future. It's coming up, but this is hopefully going to help us on, like Sandy said, it's going to eliminate some steps that we have to go through right now. And I for 2 years I've been telling people I want to listen to anything and everything everyone wants to suggest and recommend to make it better, because at the end of the day, the goals are very simple. Be able to get more money for our students, be able to give our students more money, and make sure that make everyone accountable. We're accountable, so we want to make them understand that they're accountable for what they're receiving. Yes?
Does this system generate the kind of report that you would require to send to these donors?
What it will tell me, and this is why I'm here, there's only one person, me right now, because I'm the only application. But this system will tell me every single application that's been through the system. I will be able to go to every single scholarship and see who's applied, who's been accepted, who's been given money. Is going to be able to, over here, let me see if it's here, communications, you see? Here, these are all of the, just to show you, I can create any type of communication. In this case, it's an automatic email to the student saying you have received an award offer of such, please review the offer, accept or reject. And I email, that goes through the same time. I can set up the system so that once the student gets an award, I can notify the donors. 20 students have received awards, I can pull out the information. Since I have never done it, I don't know if there are any other things that you can do or cannot do that I don't know about. Let's see. There's a lot more to the system than what I'm showing you. Again, from your end, what I need to do, and Sandy, you tell me what's the best way to do this. What I did from our side, we have all these scholarships that we know exist at the college. And these are scholarships that were included in the 2009-11 President's Report, the ones that we know are in the college. And one of the things we've been doing over the last 2 years is trying to find out exactly what it was that the donors or the people that created the scholarships intended the scholarship to go to make sure we're not giving money in such a way that was not the way intended. The second thing that I did, and I recently included, you'll see there are a lot of this behavioral sense, I included that after talking to Sandy. Originally, we were just thinking these are the scholarships that I'm included, but then that wouldn't have benefited your department, and that wouldn't have told the students that there were other ways that they could get scholarships. So I went through this. But again, if qualifiers can be added, again, in some cases that won't work, but if qualifiers can be added, when we say academic excellence, is academic excellence 3.0, 3.2? And I understand there might be situations where we just want to say academic excellence because we don't want to actually. We want to do it based on our own, group decisions. That's fine, but just know that then the system is not going to be very helpful because it's going to be really hard to filter all the students. In those cases, again, you might just rethink then, since I don't want to do qualifiers, maybe I want to add questions. If I define academic excellence by saying academic excellence means X, Y, or Z, I might ask you to write an essay on something. Again, it might be too difficult for the students. I don't want to make it complicated for the students. Again, if we look at some of the scholarships do ask specific questions and very specific ones, and like the Virginia Paris Scholarship, and some great things have come out of that scholarship. They are requested to write an essay about Virginia Paris and what they learned from the way that Virginia Paris conducted herself, and et cetera, et cetera. And there's a very specific question, and I don't want to paraphrase the question, that's why I'm staying general, even though I've read it many times. There's a very, very specific question that students have to fill out. For some of this, though, let's think creatively. If we don't want to do it based on GPA, if we don't want to do it based on courses, let's ask a few minor things.
I think that those of us coming from the departments, you go back to your departments and talk to them, let them know that this is happening. Quite obviously, you're not going to remember all the details. That's why we have the video, all right, so that the video of Anna's presentation will be made available as soon as it's given to me. I'll share it with all of the members of the committee so we can go over this again, in our minds and making sure. But I think one of the first things that we have to do in the department, certainly not the other awards, but in our departments, take a look at our criteria. Where we say excellence, where we say students who have suffered a great deal, what does that mean, in terms of qualifiers? And what's good about this, the students then know the departments are offering awards. Because there are some departments that are, a little shy about letting the students know that they are offering departmental awards. And so when they apply, they'll see all of these awards that come up. And then they'll know that there's criteria that they can aim. So those students coming in as freshmen, what can I do to get an award in my major if I wanted to major in dental, or if I wanted to major in early childhood, or, not early childhood, in education? How would I go about doing that so they already see that without having to go to the department? What is Dean's List? What do I get if I'm on the Dean's List? What does that mean? So I think it's really important for us to go back to our departments, go through our booklets, the awards in our department, and pinpoint them and see, is this what we really want to say for our awards?
And then one thing that just occurred to me, it might be a horrendous idea, but, so if it is, just let me know. It might be that for some of the scholarships, if it's for more general things, if we wanted to include at the end of the description a contact, for more information on the scholarship, please contact Cynthia Jones, please contact, Sandy Figueroa. We can do that. We can put in that description whatever it is that we want. That's a beautiful thing, and I can do this at night after my son goes to bed if I want to. That's the other beautiful thing, I don't have to be here to do anything. Now I can do any of the administrators can make the changes.
And that's a very good point. The department chairs and the coordinators, or whoever the departments designate for the people to look at review these applications, or review the honors program, the awards for their honors program, they can do this without checking Infotech. Because the clearer the departments are with their criteria, the easier it is, and so you don't have to go to Infotech. And so you can give me that information tomorrow, and I can put it, and then I don't have to bother you at all. Then you don't have to hear from me. So you have control, that's the point that I'm making, you have control. The departments have greater control, and they can see this much faster. So in addition to the college looking good and reporting that $250,000 has been donated, and all of these students who received it to the donors, and they're all happy, then the administrators here on the college campus, those of us who are chairs and coordinators and looking at the awards, are just as happy because we don't have to wait 90 years to get the information. So I look at this as being very productive for everyone.
Right now, even as of, like right now, when you leave this room, you can go in, again, I haven't shared this with absolutely anyone except the people that I've been working with. Obviously, you can share with whoever you want, with the caveat that we know there might be typos, there are things that are not done, the information might not be correct, there might be doubles, etc. Again, we're working as much as we can with the information that we have and not doing 100,000 other things. But you can go in, allstudents.academicworks.com, and you will be able to look at everything that's in the system right now. You'll be able to click on anything and see the information that we have in the system as of today, which will obviously have to be edited and will have to be changing. So you can look at whatever pertains to your areas and be able to immediately see, okay, Anna has this wrong, or she doesn't, etc. The other thing is that based on what I've been told, and Claudia and I have not had any issues, you sign in using your credentials at the college, so you can try it out and see where you end up. You can tell me if you end up in the wrong place. But you should be able to log in right now.
All right, I'm giving my Scholarship and Awards Committee homework, all right? So yes, we're gonna have homework, so we could really review this and see this. So I'm going to send an email, because not all of our committee members are here. So we want to, your homework obviously is to go into the site and play with it and apply and see and go through, look at your awards and everything like that. And then we're gonna come back together and take a look at this and see what's good, because we really have to get this information as quickly as possible. We want this to roll
I
out in
love to
February.
impose my self-imposed deadlines in order to hopefully make things happen. My original goal was this semester, but it was just with the 45th and everything else, it just became a little bit impossible. I would love to be able to have the system up and running by the beginning of next semester. So that means we would have the rest of October, November, and December to get the system completely perfect, and obviously put together a communications campaign from our side, so that in January, when students come back in, we have this up and running. I think that's realistic, given that the system is pretty much up, and it's a matter of going in, again, from the side of the people that are in charge of the scholarships going through. I will be meeting, just so that you know, with every single person that is in charge of the other scholarships, just like I've done here with the Circle of 100, with the people that are in charge of the Dominican scholarships. There are several other scholarships in the system that we have right now that not everyone here is represented, and I need to meet with them in order to be able to get clarification too, and make sure what they're seeing is what they want. So, yes.
I've also asked Vice President Carrion to make a presentation to chairs and coordinators, so that they're aware, of what's going on. So I think Anna's office is working with that,
Yes. Yes.
Have you had a group of students test the system?
Oh, yes. That's definitely, that's a definite yes. We've been talking about doing that, definitely.
But you're
So,
talking
but-
about doing it, you haven't done it yet.
I haven't not. Oh, you ask if I have? No, I haven't.
Mhm.
The system, I didn't feel it was at a place where, we literally just got, this is kind of fresh of the process. We just got the final connection with CUNY first. I think it was 2 weeks ago or something like that. Before, if a student went in, it wouldn't have been able to use their credentials. So now they can. So
I
that's in my
think that
Uh-huh.
many of us,
Uh-huh.
if we filled out these applications,
No,
we
no,
would
no,
find-
I
know
didn't,
that
yeah,
we
yeah,
would
yeah.
find we're eligible
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
many of these.
Yeah, no.
But in the real world, in the real world where students are having to put in their information,
Yes,
then we get to see.
definitely, that
Um,
comes up.
We have 4 students who are serving on the Scholarship and Awards Committee. So since my homework assignment is for everybody on the committee to apply, those students will also apply. And anybody who's absent, they're gonna get the link, so that, yeah.
And again, it might be, and I will go to your question, it might be that when you go into the system to log in, I know Claudia and I are in the system set up as administrators. So it might be that because I don't have your names in as reviewers, for example, and you're not an applicant and you're not an administrator, it might be that the system doesn't let you go in. So do let me know, because I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen in your specific case. I can add you obviously in the system as a reviewer right now, so that you can go into the system and look at it. So we can definitely do that. But I didn't know who would be reviewers, who would not, so again, we're very early in the sense of including all that
I do
information.
have one more question, I think it's technical.
Mhm.
Where the qualifiers are specific
Uh-huh.
in terms of
GPA.
GPAs, semesters, or specific areas, you either meet it or you don't.
Mhm.
But where there are judgment calls, how are those determined? And one, and two, reviewers of
Mhm.
these, especially where something involves a judgment call. The person meets this part, that it's numbers really, or age groups, or departments, or units, they meet those qualifications. But this is another aspect of this opportunity, and it's a judgment call.
Yes.
Are reviewers,
That's where, again, see, if I cannot have a qualifier do it, then the people who are in charge of the opportunity need to decide if they're gonna ask questions that are gonna help them make the judgment call decision, or if they're gonna continue to do it whichever way they do it right now, which I'm not completely sure. I have one more question, let me have her because.
Yeah, actually, it's more of, I wanted to offer maybe a few students.
Yes.
An honors program to
Yes.
sort of,
Definitely.
be,
Go
not
in.
guinea pigs, but,
Yes,
check the site out and see what maybe some of the issues that might come up for them.
definitely.
And also because I have students that have very specific majors.
Okay.
And maybe that might bring up some issues that maybe, or even suggestions from them that could be
Definitely.
helpful.
Right now, for example, with notice, and this is what obviously the testing part is so important, we noticed already that in the majors, there are majors missing. But we already found out and spoke to the people at Academic Works and know exactly how to go about including those majors. The key thing is that I have to match them, there's the technology work, they have to be spelled out exactly the same way that they're in the CUNY4 system. So if it says, accounting for forensic accounting or something like that, and they put accounting ACCT, it has to be ACCT, because if not, it won't match the system. So I'm working with IT to make sure that they're the ones that we have it perfectly. But yes, that's perfect, because there will be moments that majors might not show up. I already found a couple of them that weren't in there.
I'd like to go back to Vermel's point. This is what I mean by going back to the departments and take a look at the awards, because a lot of times, each year you'll see the program booklets, because we've been on the Scholarship and Awards Committee for so long. They've just rolled over, and I don't think people have really paid attention. So this is now the time for us to take a look at what do we mean by things like extraordinary achievement in out in the
The
field.
face of struggle.
And what does suffering mean? Did we go through nails or whatever? So I think we,
Some of them are,
yeah, I think that's why I'm asking that the departments take a look at this, because, and they're gonna see this, when they go into this system, they're gonna see this, they're gonna see their oh gee, I didn't know we did that. How did I ever figure that? So, this calls for us to take a look at what we're doing and maybe tightening it up a little bit.
And also so that I can understand how the decisions a little bit are made again, because when I go back to the donors and I tell them, these 20 students received the scholarships and they read the descriptions, I'm sure that some of them might just want to know exactly how did we decide on specific students. I don't know, I have to be prepared for that, so.
These are excellent questions, I really appreciate this,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh,
Any others?
Thank you. Are you kidding me? It's wonderful. All right, well, it's already 1:30, so I don't want to take anyone's time. But that being said, if anyone comes up with any questions or anything like that, I'm available usually over email is the best way to reach me, but you can call me, my extension is 4407.
Is that 24/7? You said you stay up at night.
And that's 24/7 too, that's a pretty good one. So just let me know, and feel free to reach out as we're going through the process, and I'll let Sandy then do the badgering after this, to get all the information.
Well, as I said, I'll give you the assignment, a cutoff date, suggestions, and I'll take all the suggestions and forward them to Anna so that she's not getting a barrage of suggestions all at once, so from our committee. So you'll, as soon as the link is available, and that's when I'll ask you to do the homework and take a look at the site and log in and do
But
all
then
of
you
that.
will be sure
Okay?
to let her